Alright guys, because we are probably not going to get any Exorcist panel before it starts, I'm going to head to the Night of the Creeps panel, which I'm going to give you a little intro because we're very late for the panel, but you know, it is what it is. Look how many people are here, and attendance. HorrorHound is certainly the premier con, and you can definitely tell why, because there are so many heartbeats and so many people just chilling here. Sorry guys. Yeah. So if we're gonna miss the Exorcist panel or the Exorcist TV pilot, I'm going to catch the panel. So, and it should be going on.
Put the camera on Tom Atkins and just let him go.
Well, that was the same thing with the Dick Miller
Well,
scene.
he kept getting closer and closer and closer the longer the story went on too, which was also helped make the scene crazy.
Was the line was that mine got hacked up by a maniac, and then you hiccuped a little bit.
Right.
You said, and it was just.
Do you remember this, Tom? You do a little hiccup there. And I remember we were shooting and I almost burst into tears like, oh God. And that's catching lightning in a bottle. Same thing with Dick Miller and Tom and Jason in the basement. You cast it right, you have a DP who helps you put the camera in the right place, and you just walk away and let the magic happen.
And actually, you did a great thing in that scene between Jason, or between Tom and Dick Miller. You cut to Jason at one key moment, and you're just sitting there like, you were so over this shit.
I didn't even know they were filming that. That was just my reaction. I was just sitting there waiting on my next part, you know?
And it cuts the tension beautifully because you're just like, oh my God, and then you're just like, Jason's just like, can we get out of here, please?
But what's great about it is, I don't know if you know this moment. He's in his tux and he's got his hand on the cage and he's looking at Dick Miller. It could be, can we get out of here? It could also be, if you don't give him the flamethrower, I'm going to tear this cage down and pull your fucking head off. Because he's upset. And that's it.
So we have any other questions from the audience? On the back, green shirt there.
You're talking about working with young people. Is it more difficult? Is it less fun, more fun? A good actor is a good actor. I mean, Monster Squad was great because, you know, there's no method actors that are 10 years old. You know,
There are now.
there are now. but a young actor can be a pain in the ass as much as you know. I've just been really lucky.
Have any other questions? Right here, orange shirt there.
For Tom, you mentioned working with Sinatra. Do you, comparing the two atmospheres of working for 20th century versus low budget, what sticks in your mind?
Good question.
I don't know. I never saw any difference. To me, it was always a job. It was something to do. It gave me employment. I loved the at least the seemingly freedom that we had on Fred's movie on Night of the Creeps, but I really enjoyed shooting Rockford Files with Jimmy Garner at Universal. Now Universal were a bunch of jagoffs, but they're, you know, famous for being the suits who would always come and interfere with everything. And did we have that? Did we have people coming down and telling you?
No, you didn't see it. We did a little bit, but
Yeah.
A lot of that came in at the end in post-production when they changed the ending of the film.
Yes.
And actually, it was interesting when we did the theatrical release was very scant, unfortunately, for this, and then the advertising campaign wasn't very strong. When we did the DVD in 2009, they sent us the covers to review that they wanted to put on the Blu-ray, and we were like, how is it 30 years later they still have no idea how to sell this movie?
Yeah.
And someone reviewed the release and said the exact same thing. It's like, it's refreshing to see that Sony still has no idea what to do with this fucking movie 30 years later. But I was wondering if you could all comment on this, because now we're seeing so many artists are doing their own posters and covers and, you know, recreations of Tom. Have you been seeing, isn't it nice to see that people are on their own saying, well, they didn't get it, but we do, and they're showing you their original artwork and their interpretations of the film that they've drawn and done over the years?
Is anybody here wearing the Creeps t-shirt?
There, it's right there.
Not that one. That one. Will you show that to the crowd?
That should have been the cover right there.
Going
I
around.
could go see that movie in New York.
Well, it's got Tom Atkins in a shotgun. I mean, listen.
There's an alien behind him, and a pretty girl, and these guys, and zombies. It's like, that.
I'm not in on that one. I'm not in that, sure.
Don't be
on any of the shirts.
Buzzkill, we can have all.
Nobody's ever said to me, I'm not in that shirt.
I'm a huge fan of all the new art, the new look, and I go over like to Tom's table and I look at all this like the new fog art, the newer, all of that new stuff that the artists are doing, and seeing people come up with Night of the Creep clock or watch or wallet, it really is hugely surprising to me. But I'm
Actually, my wife said I'm not in that shirt once. Sorry, go ahead. I'll shut up.
I love it.
This is what it's like to interview this bunch. They're all just like, I couldn't have them all in the same room together because they would interrupt each other's interviews. And I would be like, okay, this is great. So I'd have to ask some of them to leave and come back. And it's just a big pain in the ass, but whatever. Well, it was funny when we got the first covers for the Blu-ray, all they had on it was the alien from the first 10 minutes of the movie. It was just like, so did they just watch the first 10 minutes and go, oh, alien movie, there you go. That's it.
Probably, yeah.
It's like, and there was 4 different variants with the alien and nothing else. And then they finally managed to get the cast in and they put Tom very at the very end of the line, looking confused from some shot, and we're like, what the fuck is it?
Yeah.
So I was disappointed, but fortunately,
Front of the sorority house.
Yeah.
Got it.
So Al, I wanted to ask Alan a quick question about the makeup and that you had, because of course your head splits open in the film. So how intensive was that makeup process that you had to go through?
Well, that was some serious method acting when my head exploded. You know, it was crazy, and I went to these guys and they made a cast, and they make a cast of your head like if you have a broken arm, and you have they put a couple of straws, one straw in each nostril, and that's all you have for how long did it take to set up when they?
Those were like, it took about 45 minutes sitting under plaster.
So 45 minutes of sitting in unwrapped in plaster of Paris with straws coming out of my nose. God, the 80s were good to me. And it's 45 minutes seems like a year. And then, so that was a cool process. And I had that form. I had this plaster of Paris cast of my face forever and ever and ever. And I don't know what happened. I think I sold it on eBay. I needed the money. Anyway, and then the makeup, the prosthetics that they applied, you know, to my face during the filming and stuff, that was a pretty big process. But it wasn't like, you know, I don't know. I think I was in makeup for 2 or 3 hours. I mean, God, some of these movies and these actors that are here, they go through makeup and they're in there for 8, 10 hours just in makeup before they even get, you know, in front of the camera. But it was a lot of fun. The hardest thing back then, and I know the technology's come a long way, as far as like with the contact lenses, and I see a lot of contact lenses out here with wolves or your owls or you're blind or whatever, all these contact lenses that they sell in this thing. It felt like I had hubcaps in my eyes.
I think they were hard lenses at that time.
They were hard, and it was like looking through a glass of milk, you know. So I had to kind of feel my way around the, you know, wherever I was on the set. And I want to let Tom tell the story, but it's so funny the way he tells it. But you know, that was a real flamethrower. And here I am I got these things in my eyes, and I had seen the flamethrower work, and I mean, it would cook that wall from here to that wall over there. It was a real deal. And so here he comes with a shotgun, and I'm proud to say I've been killed by Tom Atkins. I think that's, it's on my resume. It's awesome. And then here comes Lively and running up on the porch and pointing this flamethrower. And I remember Fred, I ran off the porch like 3 times. I ducked out and we had to take it. It just scared the crap out of me. I was like, Fred, it's a flamethrower he's pointing at me, and it's a real one. And he said, Alan, we've got the trigger and the thing, and it's Jason, and don't worry. Finally, we got it. That was the scariest moment of my career. That was a real freaking flamethrower.
We have time for a couple more questions from the audience, if there's any more questions. Right over here, sir.
Awesome. I showed up late, so I hope I'm not regurgitating a question that was asked before.
If you are, we will be asking you to leave.
Okay, cool. That's
It's
awesome.
okay,
get
we're all
one shot
going
at
to
this.
regurgitate later anyway.
Right. Night of the Creeps is unlike any movie in the history of, especially horror, but in film in general. Fred Dekker, without a doubt, the 2 movies that you made, I know you made RoboCop 3, but the 2, Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps, are just so different than anything you're going to get in the 80s, and I wasn't really around back then. Can the actors elaborate on your first reactions to getting the script and how very different that it was than all this, the studio horror that you're getting from the 80s and that time?
My first reaction was I was thrilled to get
Right.
the script. And Fred and I met in somewhere in the valley across from the Sportsman's Lodge, right? In that guy, what was that guy's name? The producer?
Bill Finnegan.
Yeah, Finnegan. And I loved that script from the moment I read it. And I don't know that I said it to Fred, probably not, but I was thinking, please, dear God, Fred, give me this fucking job.
I think we gotta end it on that note. That was solid. And we're out!
You should have dropped the mic.
Forgive me, I'm sorry about the language, forgive me.
I read it and knew it just looked like it was gonna be fun. It read like this is gonna be fun. When you see that you're gonna be staying up late and playing with shotguns and flamethrowers and killing zombies, and I didn't even know killing a zombie was gonna be so cool, right? But it knew it was gonna be fun, and it was, and you can tell we had a good time.
I was really loving the script because I got to play the bad guy, and I've done that in a couple of movies, and I just loved it. I loved it being the antagonist with this guy because, well, I don't know why. It's just fun being the bad guy. I liked the script. It was a blast, and I remember in the auditions, we just clicked, and it was fun, and it just kind of came out of me. Yes, there was that magic that Fred talked about. We hit it off really well, and I knew it would be a blast, and I had a blast with it, and I looked forward to doing it the minute I read the script.
I think the first thing that struck me was the title was very strange. I honestly, you get all these sides every single day, and in LA you're maybe doing 2 or 3 auditions a day, and then my agent said you're doing this audition for something called, and I think she said The Creeps.
Yeah, the original title was The Creeps.
Yeah,
And then,
so I got this thing called The Creeps, and I heard that somebody else was already casted. I think it was John Cusack. That was the rumor going around that John Cusack was doing this thing, Night of the Creeps, and I saw him at Coconut Teaser one night. I said, "Are you doing Night of the Creeps?" He said, "No, I'm not doing that." But so that's something else. But yeah, I thought it was like a strange title, and I auditioned for Jason's role, I think, originally. But it was, you're right. The dialogue was very strange. You got some of the innuendo and some of the references, but certainly not all of them. And it was a very different script, though, from what we were reading. We were reading a lot of the scripts at that time were kind of John Hughesy, because John Hughes had made a couple of great films, and everybody was trying to catch that lightning in a bottle too. And so there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And this was very, very different. And but I originally auditioned for Jason's role, and I think it was at the audition you said, switch that up.
I have to give Chuck Gordon credit for that, our producer.
Yeah.
He said, what if they switched? So, Chuck to thank for that.
What about you, Jill? What did you think when you first read it?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was a great script because it had everything. You know, it had a romance and comedy and scary. But I just, I think that Fred was way before his time in the writing and the directing and bringing the whole cast together. I loved the script. I really did. I read it and I just felt like, you know, I was Cynthia. And, you know, he says that, you know, Alan says he loves being the bad guy. And I really enjoy being, you know, the sweet thing next door.
Oh.
Kind of.
Well, and let's face it, I mean, we're talking about script writing and we're breaking this all down. Let's face it, it's 4 20-year-olds and Tom Atkins. We just figured a job. All of us. You know, you got this opportunity to do this movie. It's like, I don't care what the script looks like, I just want to go to work.
And
And
it's so
we were
much
blessed.
fun.
We were so blessed, you know, that it turned out like this. Oh, you guys here, this is
And
amazing.
It's really fun being the only girl. I liked that part a lot.
Get that on a t-shirt, Jill, and wear it at the next con.
T-shirt and the next horror.
And I'm still the only girl.
I want to say one thing. We don't, it isn't rocket science what we do. It's just making movies, but I swear, I think the experience that we all had being fortunate enough to be together, working with Fred and each other on this movie was a kind of almost like a once in a lifetime blessing for all of us and a kind of a life-changing. We all love seeing each other at these reunions. We keep in touch during the year, most of us, and it just, I hope you enjoy the movie as much as we did making it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I just want to say, as a wrap-up, this has been a real pleasure for me. And if I could travel back 30 years ago to the me from 1986 and tell him that one of his favorite movies of all time was a film that he was going to get to document and help get back out there to the fans, I know that I would first wonder and ask myself, okay, could you please put down the donuts in the future? But then I would also say, I'd probably start crying because at the end of the day, certain things just mean an awful lot to you at a certain point of your life, and for them to come back around and help introduce it to the next wave of people who will also fall in love with it was very special to me. And you say in the movie, thrill me, well, you thrilled us big time with this movie. And you're
Yeah!
all wonderful people, and really weird. Thank you very much. So my name is Cast, writer,
Thank you all. Thank you.
Michael, big thank you to you for making that, getting that Blu-ray done.
It was my pleasure. Fright Nights coming up next.
Yeah, yeah.